Hey Guardians, thank you for tuning to my video. So this will be relatively short, I hope. So a bit late to the news, but I've been away, so I've not been able to get behind the camera and do this recording. So as many of you, or some of you perhaps, have seen that the upcoming expansion, Witch Queen, upon its release, will also mean the removal of more content, or vaulting as Bungie is calling it, that they could reintroduce at some point. So the content they are vaulting is the Forsaken expansion. Why this is a big deal? It's a big deal because it's a paid expansion, and for a lot of people it's a well-loved expansion, and I just started it recently. Though the Witch Queen expansion is due in February, assuming there's no more delays to that, the problem this represents is I now have to kind of focus my attention to the Forsaken campaign so that I can experience the story, the lore, and the world that it's in, because, well, Bungie also removed, from what I understand, the explorable world content that is tied to it. So that's really good. What this impacts in a number of ways to players. So if you've done it, that's fine. You've done it. For people that are trying to get into Destiny 2 and looking into starting from the very beginning, or close to beginning as possible at this stage, Forsaken expansion really does, from what I understand, explain some of the characters that go up until the current point of the game. So there's going to be a lot of lore that's going to be highly disconnected to people trying to play the game. I've not gone through the campaigns like I have, but from a content creation perspective for me, is that I now feel rushed to go through it, because when you buy something or buy a game or buy a piece of content in the game, you don't expect it to be removed, as I explained in a video of mine previously. I feel like I now have to rush this content. I might not be able to appreciate the lore as much as I would have liked to, because I might feel like I'm missing something. Definitely have to skip a few things just to make sure I focus on the campaign. And also, in terms of how can I put this? My journey into being a content creator in a number of games, including Destiny 2, I really have to rush this, miss things, and not be able to provide my thoughts and opinions and my playthrough journeys with it. So with the way the content's being delivered and also being removed, it's really impacting the way players get to experience the game. They feel like they're going to be constantly rushed, but it also makes us think, just what is the limit that Bungie's at with their game, the systems that play here, because it's not making that much sense to me. Because if we look at some big, like, persistent games that are out there, like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2, they constantly add content, yes, at a cost to you as a consumer, and to me, we buy that content, and they do offer extra stuff as a cash shop. I'm not actually against cash shop, with the exception of certain items that should be in the game earnable, but that's a different thing altogether. But one thing those titles don't do with it, well, the developers don't do with those titles, they don't remove content, they don't remove whole expansions. They may change the systems and core aspects of the game, which affects the old content, but the old content is still there to be done. The game is very good, and they're not promoting it well enough they're not promoting the good gameplay enough, but they're certainly promoting what they are selling and what they are removing a hell of a lot more. What's even worse that Bungie has done, and as announced, I should say, is that in the Witch Queen expansion, there is additional content in, I believe it's 3 dungeons, that forms part of additional piece of content that's not part of the base expansion, or even the season passes. They form part of the deluxe pack or a different add-on pack entirely. But they also plan to sell that piece of content, those dungeons, separately later on. I don't understand that, because it's very likely when they release the expansion, those dungeons are already complete. So what they've done is take what is likely a complete package, literally slice it, then sell it to you as a consumer. That just... When DLCs first came out, and I believe it was it Skyrim that did it? I think it was Skyrim with the horse armor. The thing with the horse armor was, the horse armor just didn't really add to the whole game experience. It was just a drop in the ocean. The biggest fear people had with DLC, when a developer would take a complete package and literally slice off content from that existing package, take it from it and sell it in a different package altogether or a separate purchase, which is what we have right now. With that, I'm hoping Bungie reconsiders the way they deliver that content, because if those dungeons come out, let's say 6 months after the release of Witch Queen, then I think people can stomach that, especially if that's purchasable via the season passes, but I think it should be part of the core experience. This feels like this is going to drive more players, or it's going to make the existing players just not put in a good word about the game. They can push the limits to what they can deliver and sell to players. Is that what they're doing? They just want to see what they can push on the cash shop, as it were, to players. What will players buy or not buy? I hope people don't buy those dungeons. If that sells well, the developer will continue to do that. If the consumer refuses to buy that content, that slice of content that should have been in the whole experience, then Bungie will reconsider, I hope, how they will do that in the future. We don't want this being a continuous pattern with any game, because we don't know how big or short Witch Queen will be. If it's a short experience and they are selling what is very likely sliced off content, that's going to be a very low blow. That's going to be the highlight of a review of any major outlet. That's what they're going to focus on, and that's just going to make the game look bad in terms of what Bungie's doing. Fingers crossed we see some hope in terms of the content delivery and re-delivery. Leave comments below to what you think about Bungie and their current ways and what they're doing. See you guys. See you around.